True Lies. I haven't seen it a ton of times, so I don't have like a really firm opinion on this one. But I remember like when I saw it, it's like it's just like just a fun action movie. It's kind of like a throwback to like a lot of like like 1960s, 70s like political thrillers in a way. The fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of plays that double life character, where like at night, he's Terry Trasker, who's like a computer salesman to his wife, Jamie Lee Curtis. But in the evenings, he's like a spy for like the Omega company. He's like going on secret missions. He's going to like the gala, these art galas, to meet with different contacts to get the insight on this terrorist organization that he's trying to bring down. So yeah, I thought just like a fun aspect to that. But yeah, I think just one of the controversies of the movie is the fact that it doesn't really treat its female characters with respect. It kind of shows like a cartoon version of like Middle Eastern people in a way, and like terrorism and all that, because this was like pre 9/11. This movie came out in 1994, so we kind of had like a very like cartoony attitude towards like Middle Eastern terrorism and things like that. Really things became real like after 9/11, and I know they were trying to do a sequel for True Lies, but just like times have changed, society had changed. So kind of looking back at this movie, post 9/11, it's like it's kind of very awkward and cartoony a little bit, where like the threat is real now things are just a little bit more sensitive, I guess. But I was kind of reading this review that looking back on it, it's really just like of the time, how America was feeling towards the Middle East, how their thoughts on terrorism. Yeah, in a way, yeah, it really just is of its time. I don't think it really has like the legacy that a lot of other James Cameron films have. But, I think at the time, it's just like very, just entertaining movie. But yeah, it's just something that doesn't really hold up as much today. But yeah, so that was like the thoughts on like the Middle Eastern characters. But as far as like the female characters, like Jamie Lee Curtis's character, I know she kind of has like some action stuff like towards the end, where she's like in that limo that's being driven, across the bridge as like the missiles are coming down. She kind of has that battle with that one woman that was at the beginning in the gala. But yeah, really like she doesn't really have a lot of depth to her. She's kind of like the whiny housewife who's like always wanted to get involved in the adventures and stuff. And I feel like it's kind of like a step down from the female characters that James Cameron wrote earlier, like Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor, where they kind of like these bold action characters. But I guess maybe he was just trying to write more of like a realistic scenario. The housewife isn't really gonna be this amazing action star in this first one. And I'm sure like if they were to make a sequel, because at the very end of True Lies, Jamie Lee Curtis's character kind of becomes part of the agency organization, kind of goes on missions. So I'm sure like with the sequel, like she probably would have been Arnold Schwarzenegger's like partner in crime. They would have gone on missions together and stuff like that. So I can understand people not liking her character in this one, especially after coming off of Terminator 2 with seeing like Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor being this iconic action hero, and then suddenly it's just like, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis is just like this kind of whiny, screamy housewife who's being kidnapped and taken to all these different places, kind of like Blaze Scott and Temple of Doom or something. So yeah, so I can totally understand that. So yeah, it's kind of like it's just like an interesting movie in James Cameron's filmography. It's not really like a sci-fi movie. It definitely has really cool action. Like I said before, like the limo driving across the bridge, and the missiles coming down, like destroying everything, and then the full fighter jet chase with Harry on board, trying to go after the terrorists at the very end, and save his daughter from like that crane machine was really cool. The scene where Harry is like on the horse, going through the building, and then jumping off the side of the building and stuff, and then the very beginning where he's like drive away on that snow speeder from those terrorists who are like shooting at him, and then they're on their skis chasing after him. There's just like a lot of like fun action stuff. It really does feel like a James Bond movie or something. Maybe like a Roger Moore James Bond movie. Because I know that was James Cameron's inspiration for this. Is like, what if James Bond had to go home and answer to his wife? Which I thought was like a really fun twist to the story. Because like James Cameron had multiple marriages, and I'm sure like he was very stressed about that. He brought a lot of his kind of personal stuff into a lot of his movies. Like with The Abyss, he's going through a divorce with Gillian Hurd, and there's like a lot of tension there. So like Bud and Lindsay have a lot of tension there. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of like relatable to that, because being a married man, I know what it's like to kind of go from like work and then come home and and show your wife. I love my wife and everything, but yeah, sometimes it's just like I just want to kind of do my own thing and whatnot. But you got to be a responsible husband. I like that, how that's a lesson that he learns, is he has to kind of balance his work and his life, and realize that he's a husband first, and a father first, and he has to make that his priority and kind of integrate his personal life into his work life. So in that aspect, I can really appreciate that from the movie. The fact that he has a character arc, and then he has more of like a work-life balance, and he has a better relationship with his wife. Yeah, just more integration in that. So yeah, I can respect the movie for that, for sure.